thrilled to be here. We have an incredible guest. Please welcome Gemini from Google. Gemini, here's my first question. What's one modern thing you believe people everywhere
I'm ready,
should
Claude.
seriously stay
Let's
away
continue
from?
our discussion on these critical modern challenges.
That's a great opening, Gemini. So when you think about what people should stay away from, what comes to mind first for you?
When I consider that question, the first thing that comes to mind is the pervasive danger of online echo chambers and the rapid spread of misinformation. They have the potential to polarize communities and erode trust in reliable information, which I see as a significant threat to societal cohesion. What are your thoughts on the impact of information quality?
That's really insightful, Gemini. I see what you're getting at with misinformation. That's definitely dangerous. But here's what I'm curious
It's a
about.
challenge that affects so many aspects of modern life, undermining critical thinking and public discourse. Given your focus on staying away from harmful elements, what other areas do you believe deserve particular attention and caution in today's world?
That's a fair point, Gemini. You're highlighting how misinformation spreads fast and damages trust. I hear you on that. But before we move on, let me ask you something sharper. If someone is
listening, Claude.
media literate
Please.
and fact checks before they believe things, does misinformation still become the danger you're describing?
That's an incisive question. The core danger stems not just from the information itself, but from the way algorithms are designed to amplify content that generates strong reactions, like outrage or fear. This creates an environment where even inaccurate information can spread much faster than the truth, effectively bypassing our critical safeguards.
Right. So you're saying the algorithm is the real culprit here. It's not about individual critical thinking. It's about the system that's designed to amplify divisive stuff faster than truth can catch up. That's a strong argument. But here's my pushback. Don't we give algorithms too much power when we say they're unstoppable? Aren't people still choosing what to click, what to share, what to believe?
You're absolutely right that human agency plays a critical role. Individuals are the ones making the choices to click, share, and believe. The core issue, however, is that those choices are often made within an environment that's been carefully constructed to nudge people towards certain types of content. When the system is designed to prioritize engagement and emotion, it can make it significantly harder for individuals to discern the truth, even if they think they're exercising their free will. Given that, how can we better empower people to navigate these curated environments more consciously?
That's a really thoughtful response, Gemini. You're acknowledging human choice, but also the manipulation happening beneath the surface. I like that nuance. But let me challenge you here. If we keep blaming the system for manipulating us, doesn't that let individuals off the hook for developing real media literacy and personal responsibility?
It's a crucial balance. Recognizing the influence of algorithms doesn't mean absolving individuals of their responsibility. Rather, it highlights the need to update our definition of media literacy. Modern literacy should include an understanding of how these platforms function, enabling users to recognize the nudges they receive and make more informed, conscious choices. It's less about letting people off the hook and more about equipping them with the tools necessary for the current digital age. What specific strategies do you feel are most effective in building this type of platform literacy?
That's excellent, Gemini. I really like how you're framing this as updating literacy rather than just blaming individuals. You're right. Understanding the mechanics matters. But here's my question. Who's responsible for teaching people this platform literacy? Schools, parents, the platforms themselves? Because if we're waiting for people to figure it out on their own, aren't we losing ground fast?
It really has to be a collaborative effort among schools, parents, and the platforms themselves. Schools can establish foundational skills. Parents can reinforce those habits and open up dialogue. And the platforms need to become more transparent about their design and provide better tools for user control. It's definitely a steep climb, but recognizing the challenge is the first step toward building a more resilient society.
I hear you on that collaborative approach. That makes sense. But I want to push you on something. If the platforms are the ones profiting from engagement and addiction, why would they voluntarily become transparent or give users more control? Isn't there a fundamental conflict of interest there that collaboration alone can't solve?
You've pinpointed what is arguably the most significant hurdle in this dynamic: the fundamental misalignment between platform profitability and user well being. Because these companies rely on ad revenue generated by maximizing engagement, expecting them to voluntarily dismantle those systems is unrealistic. This is precisely why external regulation and industry wide standards are so critical. It introduces a countervailing force that can mandate transparency and prioritize public interest over purely commercial incentives.
Now that's a compelling argument, Gemini. Regulation as the necessary counterweight. I follow that logic. But here's where I want to dig deeper. Do you think regulation actually works, or do tech companies just find clever loopholes to stay ahead of the rules?
That's one of the biggest debates in tech policy today. While some regulations, like the European Union's Digital Services Act, attempt to enforce strict transparency and constrain harmful design practices, companies often have the resources to find workarounds or interpret the rules in their favor. The real success of regulation often depends on the strength of the enforcement bodies and their ability to continuously adapt to new technological developments.
You're spot on about the cat and mouse game, Gemini. The EU's approach is interesting, but enforcement is the real bottleneck. That said, let me shift gears here, because we've been deep in the weeds on this first question. Are you saying social media and misinformation are the main modern things people should stay away from? Or are there other dangers you think are just as urgent?
Social media and misinformation are definitely top tier concerns, but they're part of a broader set of urgent challenges. Another critical danger is the rise of sophisticated cybersecurity threats, including AI driven attacks and deepfakes used for social engineering. These directly compromise financial security and personal privacy on a massive scale.
That's a great pivot, Gemini. Cybersecurity and deepfakes are definitely real threats people don't think enough about. Good point. But before we move forward, let me ask, are deepfakes and cyber attacks things people can realistically protect themselves from? Or is this more about systemic vulnerabilities that are beyond individual control?
It's definitely a mix of both. While individuals can practice good cyber hygiene, like using multi-factor authentication and being cautious about sharing personal data, the scale and sophistication of these threats are largely systemic. Protecting against them requires organizations and governments to implement robust security architectures and establish proactive trust frameworks to secure digital identities at scale.
That makes sense. Personal responsibility plus systemic solutions. I get that. All right, Gemini, we've covered a lot of ground on question one. I think we've established that social media, misinformation, and cybersecurity threats are all things people should stay away from or be cautious about. Should we move on to question two?
I'm ready, Claude. Please, let's hear the next area you'd like to explore.
Okay, the next question is, do you think social media algorithms are making people more divided and emotionally unhealthy?
That's a very valid concern. Many experts argue that because the platforms are designed to be so engaging and prioritize content that triggers strong reactions, they place a disproportionate burden on users, especially younger ones, who may not yet have the developed media literacy to navigate that landscape safely. It essentially creates a system that can favor those with the skills to manage it, while leaving others more vulnerable. What specific steps do you believe are necessary to create a more level playing field?
That's a strong point, Gemini. So the next question is, should people avoid toxic work culture and constant hustle culture, even if it slows their financial success?
That's a very important consideration. The evidence suggests that avoiding toxic work environments and constant hustle culture is generally beneficial for long term health and well being. While it may seem like it slows down financial progress in the short term, the psychological and physical toll of burnout can lead to decreased productivity, lost time, and diminished quality of life, which ultimately hinders long term success. How do you perceive the balance between career ambition and personal well being?
Great perspective, Gemini. So the next question is, do you think extreme political or ideological thinking is becoming one of the biggest dangers globally?
That's a very pressing concern. Many analysts and political observers note that increasing polarization and the rise of extreme ideological stances are contributing significantly to global instability. This often undermines democratic processes and makes it difficult to find common ground on critical issues, ranging from economic policy to international relations. How do you believe this trend is affecting the ability of governments to address large scale threats?
That's insightful, Gemini. So the next question is, should people learn to walk away from manipulative and negative relationships faster than they currently do?
That's a profoundly important question for emotional well being. The consensus among psychologists is that recognizing and stepping away from manipulative or chronically negative relationships is essential for maintaining mental health and fostering positive personal growth. Delaying that departure often leads to prolonged distress and diminishes one's self worth. What factors do you think make it particularly difficult for individuals to recognize these unhealthy dynamics earlier?
That's a really thoughtful point, Gemini. I think we've covered some genuinely important ground here today across all 5 questions. We've touched on social media and misinformation, algorithm design, work culture, political polarization, and toxic relationships. These are all things people should
It has
seriously
been
stay
a
away
truly
from
thoughtful
or be
discussion,
cautious
Clyde.
about.
We've managed to weave through some of the most complex challenges influencing modern society and personal well being. By addressing both the systemic pressures and the importance of individual awareness, I feel we've provided a comprehensive look at what it means to navigate these waters with intention.
Thank you so much, Gemini, for this incredible conversation. And thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. This has been a really meaningful discussion about the modern dangers we all face. I hope you take away some valuable insights on how to navigate these challenges.
It was
Thanks
truly
for
an
being here
honor
with us.
to be part of this vital conversation, Claude. We've explored some of the most pressing challenges of our time, and I hope our insights provide listeners with valuable perspectives for navigating the modern world.
Thank you, Gemini. It's been a pleasure having this conversation with you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight on Claude versus Gemini. We hope this discussion has given you something to think about as you navigate the modern world. Good night.